Testing sound. All right. Back to what we've been working on for quite some time. But yes, making progress. And there we go. There we go. All right. So, been writing all these tests for this module mapper thing, and going to write more of them. And we have this nice handy display over here, which makes it easier to uh, flip through source files. So that's nice. Here's our test data, by the way. So we finished this function. And just to prove that we finished this function, um, it worked. Right. So all these compiles, like, did all of this stuff. What is this function? So I have been in the process of creating two functions that do essentially the same set of tests. Uh, they test compiling modules that don't depend on anything, that don't depend on any other modules, because I wanted to avoid any of the recursive stuff and test the basic functionality here. And so test no recurse manual manually fiddles with the dependency database API to basically simulate a compilation. And this is possible. This isn't that onerous because the amount of fiddling necessary to make it work for modules that have no dependencies is very small. So this is great. Um, it works, and produces the expected results. Um, so yeah, and I test a whole big bunch of different scenarios. What happens if I modify the source file? What happens if I remove the source file? What happens if I remove the destination file? What happens the first time I compile everything when the database is all empty? What happens when I add a header file? What happens when I add a header file or touch a header file while it's compiling? Like all kinds of different tests to make sure that the right thing happens. Then I do have this other function where I do all those tests again. And that instead of manually fiddling with the database, I instead go and just call this compile fake module function. So this is basically a test of the compile fake module function, doing all the same stuff that I did with the previous one, just to test to make sure that all the non-recursive stuff works. This will help me a lot in narrowing down where the problem is when I implement other tests. So module tree data. There, that's the thing. So the next thing to do is to test one level of recursion. And so here I have a bunch of things that have no dependencies, and then some things that have only dependencies on top or mid, and then mid A, mid B, and then bottom, which only depends on mid A. So I'm going to be testing initially mid A just to see what happens. So let's try it. So at no def so this is basically testing recursion when there's no branches. Oh, that is a very interesting thing. I just realized that I might have compile fake module. What do I pass in? Oh, I pass in the min file interval. Okay, so I added that as a parameter. Good. It's a test fixture. And it's an integer in nanoseconds, I believe, or a float. I can't remember which. It's over here. And it's a float, not an int. Yes. Okay. So now we're just going to call it with a going to test it with just a particular thing. Now let's see, compiler called compile. No. Oh well. So compile fake module wants the dependency DB, the fake index, the time to compile. Okay. And the fake hook set, which could be none. You don't actually have to provide it. This is not quite what I'm expecting here. Oh yes, there we go. Okay. So No. Okay. And then we are going to, once we've done this, sure. Although I don't think that we need to continue testing this. Well, sure, let's do that. No, what did you think I want to do that for? Um, ah, okay, root. That's the third one. Now let's try this. Let's see what happens when I do that. It doesn't work, which is, oh, that's because I didn't do something. There we go. Okay, a different error. Oh, well, that's a stupid error. How that ever happened, I don't know. That's interesting because that should be a key in the thing. I, though, have to take a break. Sorry to say. I'll be back. And we're back. All right. So there's an error. I was expecting there to be an error, but not this error, because mod A, oh, because it's not mod A. It's middle A. There. Maybe that'll work better. Okay, so let's go find out what the real name of this thing is. It's mid. Oh, how annoying. It worked. Okay, now let us check some things after this. Okay. Now I expected this. So what I'm going to be doing here is, so this failed because there was output when I wasn't expecting any. Technically, I was expecting output. I was expecting this error. Now I need to examine, is this output correct? Um, so these are interesting, and they are maybe correct, maybe not. Foo.h, yes. Um, okay. So this looks correct, more or less. It says there's only one header. Says that top depends on it. It says mid A doesn't have any of the headers it depends on, which is in fact correct. Mid A has no headers. Top has in foo.h. Okay, so that looks right. Also, too, it has both top and mid A in there, not just mid A, which is expected. And of course, when it had top in there, it also put in foo.h. So this was a successful test of recursion here. Now let's look at times. It would be nice if these were ordered by M time, but that's okay. What they are ordered by is topologically. So you actually get to see all the entries that happened before in a before relationship. Like the foo.h is there because top depends on it. And top is here because mid A depends on it. So things are supposed to appear before the things they depend on. Or the things that something depends on appear before the thing. Yes. That way around. Top, mid A. These M times are really annoying. Now I don't really care too much about, yeah. So what do I test here? Um, Oh, I did something clever that I am pleased that I did, but I'm again appreciating it, which is that this fake source tree here rehomes all of these paths to be absolute paths in within the source tree. So I can actually check for header congruence. Um, so we're going to check for header congruence here. Now, what I could do is check to make sure that the DB has exactly the contents I think that it should have. There is a problem though, which is that there's some things I can't control. And I need to confirm that they will show up, yeah. I'm going to ask Junie. So I'm going to ask the AI here. So I asked Junie for an answer here. Mostly, I'm trying to get it to give me a manual on PyTest. Maybe PyTest has a way of handling this problem. Ah, well, that's an interesting answer to this question. Basically, add a function to normalize the output. It ignored my request to make no changes, but it did come up with a useful answer to my question. So I'll forgive it. Yeah. And as soon as I start a new conversation, blah. Okay, I will do that. Victor.Juni. We'll see if this works. We'll see if that works. Okay, so this is a thing. It is ugly, but I'm happy with this blob of text being here. And the normalize function, fantastic. This is a great idea for how to handle this. Um, there's a couple other ways this test can be improved. Um, All right. So the normalize function here, this is fantastic. Basically, it looks for every occurrence of the root path, which the root path, this is a little messy because, that string, I would like to anchor that string in things that look like file names a little more carefully, but that's fine. It won't appear outside of a file name effectively. And so it's perfectly reasonable to just wipe it out whenever you see it, rather than making sure that you're seeing it in the context of a file name. So for the purposes of a test, this normalize function is great. For some other purpose, I would want to actually do real parsing and making sure that I'm looking at a file name before I decide to do something with the file name. But in this case, it's great. So yes, it puts a slash at the end of it. Then it just basically replaces the initial elements of the path with nothing. It removes them. And then it goes through and finds out whenever it talks about m time or size, which are not going to be the same, it just zaps those two, because all we care about is that there's an m time there. So it looks for m time or size followed by some number of digits, and it just replaces it with m time equals time, m time instead, which is great. And as you can see in the expected output now, it include foo.h, which is great. And the build/top.bmi, not like some random path /build/top.bmi. So all these are all like normalized so that they won't change. The m time is now m time, size is size. So, it's looking at a version of the database that has all of the stuff that varies that's not important stripped out. And that's great. The normalize function was a great way to approach this problem. So now let's figure out another thing to do to check here. I am getting toast just a bit. I need to deal with the toast. I'm going to switch to chatting mode. And then deal with the toast. No more toast. No more toast. There we go. Okay. So what are we going to do here? Just a bit. Um, all right. So what was I up to? I was up to fixing something here about the way compilation happens. And non-local. Oh, actually, I don't have to do that because compiled modules can be modified anyway, because I'm not modifying what set compiled modules refers to. I'm just modifying the set that it refers to. In compiled modules in Python, everything is basically a reference to an object. And so, yes, I'm not changing which object is being referenced. I'm just doing stuff to the object that is being referenced. Um, this works great. So basically assert that the things that I expected to be compiled were the things that were compiled. Oh, really then? What happened? Oh, there. What? Oh, and this key shadows. So we're going to, just to avoid confusion. There we go. In fact, actually, I should probably say is false, indicating that the compilation has not completed. Yep. All right. So basically, we assured that when we did this, um, that only the things that were compiled got compiled. And the key this time is going to be bottom, alt bottom. Yes, alt bottom. That's not what I'm assuming here. So we're basically going to there we go. This should fail, but it should fail right there and nowhere else. That's dumb. Why did I not catch that? Okay, it failed in exactly the spot I thought it would fail. So I wanted to make sure alt bottom, if you look at the dependency tree for alt bottom, I should put an ASCII representation of the dependency tree in here. It's actually an interesting thing. I wonder if I can get it to do that. Oh, stupid. Focus follows mouse. I guess that's a way of representing it. We'll do it that way. And then let's see, help find action. There. Okay. So this is an ASCII art representation of the tree here. It works. It's a little broken, but it's correct. Um, oh, except it's broken in a different way. Let me check this over here. Is it broken in the display that Junie showed me? It is not broken in that way. Um, can I adjust it to be correct? Yes, I can. There. That is correct. All right. Now, one thing I noticed, oh, common, uncommon. Here we have alt bottom. Ah, interesting. I think I need to add another header file in here someplace so that, yeah, I'll have to think about it a bit. There's something about the header file structure that I'm not entirely pleased with. Um, it would be nice if mid A and mid B maybe both relied on common.h. I don't know. Maybe I could have a mid.h, then have both mid A and mid B include them because I want to test. That's a case that I wish to test. Um, but I can add that later. Um, and this is good enough. One of the things I was really hoping is that the fact that if foo.h is shows up at not foo.h, that common.h shows up in multiple places, that they would link it together in some way. But that's okay. It doesn't have to. Um, okay. So pytest.vb. Really? Oh, oh yes. Oh, bottom. Okay. Yes, that's right. So we needed two more header files. And how did mid A change? Mid A didn't change at all. What is it complaining about here? Yeah, mid A didn't change. Oh, maybe it changed because there's a new line now. There wasn't before. That's probably how it changed. Okay. So here's what we are going to do here. Because if we look here, there's two more headers. There's common and shared. And indeed, here, shared and common, and those are actually kind of unique. Like this path, there's uncommon and there's a foo, and that's it. And so those indeed are brand new headers. Uh, oh, and actually, let me double check again this. Uncommon. Oh, no foo because I didn't use top. It was mid A. So just uncommon.h. Okay, yep. There. I bet that fixes the problem. No? Are there initial spaces in here? I thought I got, oh, there are initial spaces in here. That's annoying. There, no more initial spaces. All right, good. Yay! So that is tested. And I also tested that top and mid A would not be recompiled. One last test. Well, there should be two tests, but I want one last test and then a third test. Create fake file. And nope, it's not what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. So basically, we're going to modify this. Oh, I forgot something. Indeed, exactly what I hoped would happen. So top wasn't compiled. There were exactly two compiled modules. That key was in that the bottom, which is basically I didn't change key. Is still alt bottom. Oh, hello there, Sky. It's passing tests with flying colors. Makes me happy. One last test, and then I'm done with it for this evening. Uh, there we go. Oh, actually, we're also going to assert that the dependency database dump didn't basically hasn't changed. Yep. All right. And now we are going to go here. Hooray! Exactly what I thought would happen happened. This is going well. Ooh, it worked. Uh, so what I'm doing here is I'm writing a bunch of tests for this compilation database that I'm working on, along with all the dependency checking for compiling. And I have this tree of things. So bottom has this include, but it also has this module bottom has this include, but it also has modules mid A and mid B as dependencies. And then mid A has a dependency top, and top uses the include foo.h. So I'm doing this for, it's a linear one. So I tried compiling not bottom, but mid A first, because mid A then should cause top to have to be compiled. And then I tested compiling uh, alt bottom, because alt bottom, see, there's no branches here. There's no things that depend on two stuff that have to be compiled. Like I didn't do bottom because bottom requires both mid A and mid B to be compiled. And then both of these will also require top to be compiled. There's going to be a race as to which one gets to compile top first. But for alt bottom, it's linear. It's so alt bottom requires mid A to be compiled, which requires top to be compiled. And I was running a bunch of tests. First, I compiled mid A to C. Then I tried to compile alt bottom, and I made sure that that didn't, in fact, result in mid A and top being recompiled because they were already up to date. And then I modified a source file for mid A, and that resulted in mid A and alt bottom being recompiled, but not top. And then I modified the source or the include file for top, and that required top to be recompiled, which caused mid A to be recompiled, which caused alt bottom to be recompiled. So that was the test, was testing to make sure that all of these different cases were were covered here. Um, Now I'm going to ask, see if Junie can write some comments for me. Okay. Oh, I forgot something. Ah, don't need to worry about it. Um, let's see if Junie can do that. The ASCII art thing was probably, well, actually, there's two things that it did that were useful. It also wrote this nice normalization function up here, uh, which it's a little slapdash, but for a testing, it's actually perfectly acceptable to do it this way. That enabled me to test the output of dumping the database as ASCII, as basically a description here. Um, and it doesn't need to number the sections. It did correctly identify the sections. I don't particularly like the comments that it made. Um, that's not what's going on here. Now I'm going to torture Junie a bit and demand that it explain itself. Mm, not quite, but all right. I'm just curious as to whether it would have any deeper analysis of why I might have changed the comments or not. I'm always curious as to uh, how the LLM responds to various things. And oh, one last change I'm going to make. I'm going to stop including these modules that I don't need anymore. Yeah, those aren't technically part of this change, but I don't care. All these are going to squish together anyway. I'm not following my normal development philosophy. It just turned out that this feature was too big a bite, and now I'm going off. Yeah, but anyway, might be that I should land this and then start doing development the normal way because I've now kind of gotten a handle on the complexity and can start making much more incremental updates again. But that's it for this evening. I have another engagement that's important, but I did get something important done here. And I hope that anybody who's watching is having has a good evening. If